My brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when the weight of loss becomes almost unbearable. Sometimes it feels like the world is moving forward while you are standing still, trying to gather the pieces of a heart that has been shattered. It may be the loss of a loved one, the loss of a friendship, the loss of an opportunity, or even the loss of the version of yourself you once knew. And in these moments, prayer can feel heavy. Your tongue struggles to speak, your hands tremble, your eyes fill with tears, yet your heart is whispering, Ya Allah, don't let go of me. And that whisper, that tiny spark inside you, that is your worship. Prayer is not only for those who feel strong. In fact, some of the most powerful prayers are made by people who are broken, confused, grieving, and unsure. When you stand in front of Allah with a heart full of pain, you are not weak. You are showing Him that even when the world disappoints you, you still turn to Him. Even when you don't understand His plan, you trust His wisdom. Even when your heart is bleeding, you say, Alhamdulillah, not because the pain is small, but because your faith is big. Loss teaches you who you are. It strips away the illusions of control and reminds you that everything you have is temporary except Allah. People leave, situations change, blessings come and go, but your Lord remains. And every time you raise your hands in dua, every time you bow your head in sujood while tears fall, you are building a connection that is stronger than any hardship. My beloved listeners, understand something. Prayer during ease is beautiful, but prayer during pain is transformational. That sujood you make while your heart is hurting is not ordinary. It is witnessed, it is recorded, it is treasured by the one who knows the secrets of every heart. Sometimes you wonder why Allah tested you. But perhaps He wanted to hear your voice again. Perhaps He wanted to bring you closer to Him than you have ever been. And remember, every loss in this world carries a hidden mercy. Sometimes Allah takes away something to protect you. Sometimes He removes someone because your soul would break if they stayed. Sometimes He closes a door so that you stop knocking on the wrong one. And sometimes He breaks your heart only to rebuild it in a way that is stronger, purer, and more connected to Him. When a person goes through loss, something inside them becomes painfully quiet. It is the kind of silence that follows shock, the kind that fills the lungs with heaviness and slows the heartbeat for a moment. You sit with the realization that something precious has been taken away, something you thought would stay, something you never imagined life without. And in that moment, you feel the weight of the world pressing down on your chest. You try to breathe normally, but grief has a way of stealing the breath right from your lungs. This is the moment when prayer feels the hardest. You want to stand before your Lord, but your body feels drained. You want to raise your hands, but they feel weak. You want to speak, but the words do not come out the way they used to. Yet, what many people do not realize is that this weakness, this trembling, this difficulty, it is not a sign that you are failing in your worship. It is a sign that you are fighting. Every tear that falls during your prayer becomes a witness that you did not turn away from Allah even when your heart was wounded. Every shaky breath you take before saying Allahu Akbar is recorded as courage. And every moment you push yourself to stay connected to Allah despite the pain becomes a moment of immense reward. Loss often makes you question your strength. It makes you wonder if you will ever feel whole again. You look at yourself in the mirror and you see someone who is trying, someone who is hurting, someone who wants relief. And then you walk toward your prayer mat, unsure if you have the energy to complete even 2 units of prayer. But the moment you stand, there, something beautiful happens. A kind of softness pours into your heart. You feel the presence of the most merciful wrapping around you even before you utter a single word. You may not notice it, but Allah notices every step you take toward Him while your heart struggles. He notices the effort, the tiredness, the internal battle you are fighting. He knows when you wipe your tears quickly so nobody sees them. He knows when you hide your pain behind a smile. He knows when you feel like breaking but choose to turn to Him instead of turning away. And because He knows, He rewards you in ways you may not even understand. Sometimes loss makes your prayers feel empty. You stand, you bow, you prostrate, but your mind is drowning in sadness. You worry that your prayer is not good enough. You fear that your concentration is gone. But Allah never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to be sincere. Even if your heart is full of grief, your prayer still counts. Even if your mind wanders because of the pain, your effort is still appreciated. Even if the tears blur your vision during sujood, those tears are more valuable than you can imagine. Pain transforms your worship. It strips away the unnecessary and leaves behind the pure essence of faith. When you pray during ease, it is beautiful. But when you pray during hardship, it becomes something deeper. something raw, something incredibly powerful. It becomes a confession of trust, a declaration that even when the world breaks you, you still believe that Allah is enough. When you raise your hands in dua during a time of loss, those du'as reach places they may have never reached before. A heart that is broken is often the closest to Allah. A soul that is hurting turns more sincerely toward Him. The pain softens you, humbles you, and brings you to a spiritual state that ease rarely brings. Many people wonder why Allah tests them with loss, but sometimes the test is not a punishment. It is an invitation to reconnect, an invitation to find comfort in the one who never leaves, an invitation to rebuild your heart with Allah at the center of it. And when you accept that invitation, even with trembling hands and a trembling voice, you are walking toward a healing that only He can provide. So praying despite loss is not about being strong, it is about being honest. It is about standing before Allah exactly as you are, broken, tired, confused, overwhelmed, and still believing that He hears you. It is about knowing that every tear you shed is seen by the one who created your heart in the first place. And it is about trusting that the one who took something away from you is capable of replacing it with something better, something more suited for your soul, something designed with wisdom you cannot yet understand. This struggle you are facing is temporary. The pain will not last forever. But the prayers you make during this time, the moments you turn to Allah despite the heaviness, those will stay with you. Those will comfort you. Those will heal you. And one day you will look back and realize that Allah was closer to you during your loss than you ever imagined. Loss is one of the most powerful teachers in life, even though it arrives in ways that shake the heart and leave a person struggling to understand what went wrong. When something or someone is taken away from you, it feels like a part of your world collapses. You look at the empty space where a blessing once stood and you wonder why it had to disappear. You replay memories, you question your decisions, you ask yourself whether you could have done something differently. But in the middle of all these questions, there lies a truth that is hard to accept in the beginning. Nothing leaves your life without a purpose. Every loss, no matter how painful, carries a message, a lesson, a wisdom that unfolds slowly with time. And when a believer goes through loss, it becomes even more important to recognize that Allah's plan is not random. It is detailed, deliberate, and designed with a wisdom that sees beyond what your eyes can see. Sometimes Allah removes a blessing not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to protect you from something your heart cannot yet understand. You might mourn a person who left, not knowing that their presence would have destroyed your peace later. You might feel broken over an opportunity that slipped away, not realizing that it would have pulled you toward hardship or sin. You might feel lost after a dream collapsed, not knowing that Allah saved you from building your future on something unstable. We often see loss as a closed door, but in reality, it might be the beginning of a much better chapter. The heart becomes blind during grief and everything feels unfair, but Allah never takes something from a believer without replacing it with something better, either immediately or eventually. There are moments in life when you think you know what is best for yourself. You make plans, you set goals, you imagine a certain future, and you try your best to move toward it. But Allah knows the unseen. He knows the hearts involved, the outcomes hidden in the future, the challenges that would have come with the path you wished for. So when He redirects you, it can feel like your world has been turned upside down. But what looks like a setback to you might be a rescue from Him. What feels like a loss to you might be a step towards something greater that you cannot see yet. Allah's wisdom is not based on your emotions. It is based on His knowledge of everything, past, present, future, and what is hidden deep within your heart. Loss also teaches you the meaning of dependence on Allah. When everything is going well, it is easy to forget how fragile life is. But when something is taken away, you suddenly realize that nothing truly belongs to you. Not people, not wealth, not health, not happiness. Everything is a trust given to you for a moment. This realization is painful, but it also brings clarity. It reminds you that the only permanent relationship you have in this world is with Allah. Everything else is borrowed. Everyone else is temporary. When this understanding settles in your heart, it changes the way you look at the world. You stop holding on too tightly to what was never meant to stay. You begin to appreciate the blessings you have while they last, but you also prepare your heart for the day they may be taken back. Through loss, Allah softens the heart. He removes the arrogance, the pride, the illusion of control. He brings you to a place where you finally admit that you cannot handle life alone. This humility is beautiful, even though it comes from pain. It brings you closer to your Creator in a way comfort never could. You start making dua not only with your tongue, but with your soul. You begin to pray not because it is an obligation, but because it is the only place where your heart feels understood. You learn to rely on Allah not theoretically but practically, because you see with your own eyes that nothing is guaranteed except His presence. And with time, you realize that loss does not mean the story has ended. It often means the story is being rewritten with more wisdom, more strength, and more connection to Allah. The pain you feel today will shape you into someone stronger tomorrow. The emptiness you feel right now will eventually be filled with something better. One day you will look back and thank Allah for protecting you from what you once cried for. One day everything will make sense. But for now, trust that the one who planned your life has not abandoned you. Every tear is counted, every heartbreak is seen, and every loss is part of a greater mercy that is unfolding for you, even if you cannot see it yet. There comes a moment in every believer's life when their heart feels fragile, almost as if the slightest touch could cause it to crumble. In times of loss, prayer becomes more than a ritual. It becomes a lifeline, a quiet sanctuary where the soul can breathe again. When everything around you feels uncertain, when nothing seems to make sense, standing before Allah is not just an act of worship, but an act of survival. It is the place where your heart settles after being shaken by the world. It is the place where your tears fall safely. It is the place where your pain transforms into hope. And the one thing that keeps your heart alive during these moments is consistency in prayer, even if those prayers feel heavy, small, or incomplete. Prayer does not only serve the body and the mind, it nourishes the deepest layers of the soul. When you pray regularly during times of loss, you are reminding yourself that you are not walking through the darkness alone. You are anchoring your heart to the only one who never leaves. People might not understand your pain, even the closest ones might fail to notice the weight you are carrying. But in prayer, you vent to Allah without fear of being judged. You tell Him what you are afraid to tell people. You cry in sujood in a way you could never cry in front of anyone else. Those private moments become a form of healing that no human comfort can replicate. Every time your forehead touches the ground, a part of your burden sinks into the earth, and a part of Allah's mercy descends onto your heart. Consistency in prayer during hardship also builds a kind of spiritual strength you may not notice at first. When you keep praying, even on the days your heart feels numb, you're training your soul to stay connected to Allah no matter what the world throws at you. Over time, this connection becomes your shield. It protects you from despair. It stops your thoughts from sinking into hopelessness. It keeps you grounded when emotions start pulling you in every direction. You become someone who may feel the pain deeply but does not lose themselves in it. You become someone whose heart breaks but whose faith remains intact. And when faith stays intact, healing becomes possible. When a believer is consistent in prayer despite loss, Allah sends peace in ways that cannot be explained logically. Sometimes it comes through a verse you read, sometimes through a feeling that enters your heart without warning, and sometimes through a moment of clarity that arrives in the middle of the night. Prayer invites this peace because it is an acknowledgement that you cannot carry everything alone. When you lift your hands and say, Ya Allah, help me, you are surrendering the burden that has been breaking your spirit. You are giving Allah permission to take care of what you cannot control. This surrender is not weakness, it is the beginning of relief. There are people who stop praying when life becomes difficult because they feel distant from Allah or they feel guilty for not being strong enough. But the truth is that the doors of prayer were made for moments like these. Allah does not expect you to come to Him with a perfect heart or a perfect mind. He expects you to come to Him sincerely, even if you feel broken. The beauty of prayer is that it accepts you in whatever state you arrive. You may stand in salah with trembling hands, or you may whisper dua with a voice cracking from tears. You are still welcome, still heard, still loved. And through this consistency, something remarkable happens. Slowly, the pain that once felt unbearable begins to soften. The heaviness that once sat on your chest begins to lift. The confusion that once filled your mind begins to clear. Prayer does not erase the loss, but it gives you the strength to carry it with dignity. It helps you see light where you once saw darkness. It restores hope where you once felt despair. It replaces fear with trust and sorrow with patience. One day, you will look back and realize that your prayers were building you quietly, gently, beautifully. You will see that every sujood brought you closer to healing. You will understand that Allah was strengthening your heart in the very moments you thought it was being shattered. And you will know that the connection you formed with Allah during your grief was one of the greatest blessings hidden within the pain. Prayer keeps the heart alive, and when you hold on to it consistently, especially during loss, Allah guides you toward a peace that this world cannot take away. So don't abandon your prayer when life becomes heavy. That is the moment you need it the most. Even if all you can say is, Ya Allah, help me. Say it. Even if your salah is full of tears and your mind wanders because of the sadness, keep praying. Allah sees your struggle. Allah hears your whispers. Allah knows the pain you hide from the world. And He promises that after every difficulty there is ease. Not maybe, not possibly, but certainly. Hold on to prayer, even if it feels like the only thing you have left. Because that rope connecting you to Allah will never break. People may not understand your pain, but Allah understands every heartbeat, every tear, every silent cry. And one day when the storm has passed, you will look back and realize that your prayers were not just acts of worship. They were the lifeline that carried you through.